All right, so we were having a conversation on the phone about yesterday, and I just said, let's shut it off and start a podcast. So that's where we're at. So yesterday was not ideal, I guess you could say. That's probably the understatement of the day. Great environment. The whiteout, we'll go into my thoughts on whiteouts later, but, it was an angry crowd. When Tang walked out, everybody was booing. Still have some seats that people aren't filling, which I still don't get. But and up in our section, way up in the balcony, tickets were going for about $100 a ticket yesterday on StubHub. So there's no reason that you can't give them away if you've got a ticket to get rid of. But anyway, it was not a great day, but it was a great environment, and the whole Hilton thing just about. Hilton Magic thing just about happened because we had that chance to come and cut it to 6 and just never pulled it off. So unfortunately, I was there. Shout out to Corey Clem, longtime teacher at Fairfield, former basketball player of mine. Saw his brother Kevin yesterday too, and Corey's wife Sean. Good people from Clarion. Longtime Iowa State fans, and that was fun to see them too. So you got to watch it from home. What was your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, it was just an absolute embarrassment. I don't think there's any excuse. I never thought this team would play like that in Hilton, especially against a team like that. I think we're learning over the last month or so. Kansas State, talent was never their issue. They obviously had a lot of internal issues, which it seems like they figured out the last couple of weeks. And they shot the lights out really well. Shot really well from the free throw line. But I don't think this game is really necessarily about them. We came out and played well, and then just kind of fell asleep a little bit in the first half. We're really lazy with the ball and just turned it over, and it kept them in it. And then they went on a little run and were winning at halftime, which if you just kind of look how the way the game went, it kind of felt like a kick in the teeth to be losing at halftime, especially because we really shot the ball well, which without Milan has not been the case. And then just second half, we come out with no energy, and then they go on a run, and then they hit a 40-foot three, and all of a sudden you look at the scoreboard, we're down 19. And
yeah, that was crazy.
I don't really know if this is to sound the alarms quite yet. I think that's kind of seen people on social media. It seems like that's where people are at. I still have full faith in this coaching staff, and we're old and we've got leaders, and I think this is kind of where this is the type of stretch where you kind of find out what you're made of. And the Big 12 is down this year, but you have a game like that at home, and then tomorrow we play in Lawerence. So if we're going to figure it out, we got to figure out in the next 12 hours. But I don't know. I never thought this team would lay an egg in Hilton. That's just kind of, I didn't think this team was built that way. And I've been thinking back of what happened. I think it just comes down to rebounding and turnovers. Rebounding, we were atrocious, and 18 turnovers, you're not going to win many games. That all being said, we still had 6. So I don't know.
I've said this last time. I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care if you disagree with me, but I think all of the issues that we have boils down to fatigue. And we don't know, right now I've got 2 people in my family that have influenza, and they're fighting through that. We have no idea whether they're all healthy or not. There's a lot of sickness going around schools right now, high schools and colleges. Your brother came home from college because he was sick this weekend to try to get some sleep. And so we have no idea. They're never going to divulge that. But, the minutes that Keyshawn and Curtis and Taman playing right now are absolutely insane. And we go on that road trip to Arizona, so they're not getting much sleep. They're not sleeping in their own bed. And we have 2 tough games down there. And then I thought we were going to have some recovery time because of the gap, but we looked tired. When you're tired, you can't guard, you can't finish. You have a tendency to turn the ball over a little too much. And it's a bad recipe heading into Monday. Fortunately, Kansas isn't playing that great either. But losing 3 out of 4, I think the minutes are starting to mount up, and we're not getting anything out of our bench besides Demarion. Demarian's giving us some energy and giving us some rebounds, but he's not giving us enough points. I think I said over the last 2 games, our bench has not made. They have taken 9 shots in 2 games, and we can't rely on Curtis making everything all of the time, or Keyshawn making all of his circus shots. Because you think about if some of you that might be new to Sound the Sirens. I was a high school basketball coach for a long time. I've been around basketball since I was a 23-year-old college kid, and I got my first head coaching job when I was 24 in high school. And I've been around this game a long time. I've seen a lot of strange things, but battling sickness, if that's what we're possibly battling fatigue is a really tough one, especially when you're not deep. And I don't know what the answer is to the depth thing. Obviously, missing Milan hurts, but if we can get him back, that's going to give us a 9th guy. And I tell you what, if you're one of these clowns sitting in the parquet or this balcony yelling at Heisey, for Christ's sake, I mean, he is still a kid. He could probably go out and get a job tomorrow if he wanted to. That's not doing any good. Yelling at our own players and criticizing them from the stands is not doing anybody any good. You want to do that when you get home? Fine. Do not do that in Hilton, because I heard it a couple times yesterday, and that was embarrassing.
So, yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree, and that's honestly, you say it was a good environment, but the second half, it seemed like we were playing the morgue. It was I was disappointed a little bit in Hilton, especially at the free throw line. Like our student section is terrible if we're not playing well at making it even a little uncomfortable to shoot free throws in Hilton. And I've thought that for years now. I don't know what that is. Because I mean, look at Allen Fieldhouse, look at Houston. It is uncomfortable to shoot free throws when you're on the road. And yesterday it was not for K-State, and it showed. I mean, they made 18 of 21. But yeah, I mean, your point is well taken. We're getting nothing from our bench, and I mean, to start getting nothing from our bench when Milan is out is not the time to doing it. And that being said, I feel bad for Nate. It's obviously 95% mental. He's mentally struggling, and it shows. I mean, the turnover in the second half where we had a run out where if he just dumps it to Taman's a layup, we cut it to 8. Would have been a big play, and it just doesn't seem that he just needs a couple plays to go his way to break out of this slump. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of get what you're saying with the fatigue, but I mean, Deshaun Jackson played 14 minutes. He plays 19 minutes a game. He shouldn't be tired, and he's.
I'm not talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about our guard.
I know, but I'm saying our guards are the reason we let up 21 second chance points and 14 offensive rebounds. Like our post players were non-existent on the boards, and that was the reason they hung around the first half. If we rebound the first half, we're up 15, but we didn't, and they had 8 offensive rebounds, 8 to 1 in the first half. And I mean, that's when you play Power 4 conference basketball. If you let talented teams hang around, they have a couple threes go in, then you're down 19. So, and I guess the fatigue thing too. I mean, I'm looking at Monte Morris in Big 12 play. His senior year played 38.2 minutes a game, and he never looked tired. I know we play defense a little differently now, but
yeah, we didn't guard. I mean, we expend a hell of a lot more energy on the defensive end than Monte ever did. Yeah. I love Monte, but go back. I watched some highlights of them yesterday just for the fun of it, and we just let teams score a lot of times. But yeah, no, it's not. I'm not talking about fatigue on our post players. I'm talking about fatigue with our guards, and we play so hard on both ends that the other issue, we've got some offensive issues that I don't know what the answer to that is. I mean, we turned it into Steve Prohm ball a little bit by standing around watching him dribble and wanting somebody to make a play, but. We had 13 points at the 16-minute mark, and between that and the about 11.5-minute mark, we scored 3 points, and this is in the first half.
Yeah,
and then we scored 2 more points, and we're at the 10-minute mark. Actually, we're at the 9:41 mark, so we scored 5 points in that time period. And that's just not going to get it done. So we went from having like a 9-point lead to being down 3 in that time in the first half. And that was you could probably say that's where we lost the game. I mean, we just we just could have had a chance to kind of hammer them in the first half, and we didn't do it.
Yeah, the thing is too, with how K-State's built, they're not very mentally tough. So if we put them away, they would have accepted it. But we let them hang around, and credit to them, they showed up and we didn't. But yeah, I guess my point to our guards are playing a ton of minutes, but like that's an opportunity for the post players to pick them up, and they just did not. Like Jackson has been really disappointing aside from the Kansas game in Big 12 play, in my opinion. And I mean, he had like 2 rebounds yesterday in 14 minutes.
14 minutes that means that, you know, when Chatfield gets 15 minutes and Deshaun gets 14, I mean,
yeah, I mean, if you listen
we can't do that.
You listen to TJ's press conference too. He's obviously frustrated with a lot of people. I think Keyshawn is probably number one just because he kept saying hero ball like 4 or 5 times. And when you look at our offensive possession, sometimes our first pass doesn't happen until there's 10 seconds left in the shot clock, which is a problem, especially when they're packing the lane. So if they're packing the lane, like we've got to move people and move the ball. We can't just stand around.
And TJ said that in the post. I mean, he knows what's going on. I mean, and it's not. And so TJ, the thing I love about TJ that I wish I was better at. This is a really bad game to give the example, but he does such a good job of internalizing a lot of emotion when it comes to the players, because he doesn't like Kelvin Sampson called one of his players on TV an effing moron while he's playing. You could read his lips. And TJ just doesn't do that. And I think TJ is really good at, you know, addressing those things internally or at practice or whatever. But you're right. I mean, TJ and Keyshawn wasn't the only one. I mean, Curtis is doing that a little bit. I think Joshua's doing that a little bit. And if Deshaun has to dribble more than 2 times in a row, we're in trouble. I mean, he shouldn't. And they also, you know, it's a fundamental thing, but the guy I was sitting with used to coach basketball too. And when Deshaun gets a rebound, he has to bring the ball all the way down to his waist to jump up if he wants to get it to the rim. And so at some point, he's forgotten that if he just keeps the ball above his head and jumps up really quick and puts it as a putback, he's going to be much more efficient, because every time he brings the ball down, it gets stolen.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right.
I don't know what's going on, but.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is crazy too. I was just looking at last year because everyone's referenced the lull of the TJ era, but I mean, last year we didn't lose 2 games in a row in Big 12 play.
No.
So, and didn't lose at home. And I mean, I think that we've been a little spoiled a little bit as far as how well we played home. And I didn't think the Hilton streak would be broken against a 9-11 K-State team.
Right.
But I mean, I think the silver lining is it's February 2nd. It's not March 20th. So we've got some time. And I think our coaches throughout the years have shown the ability to adjust on the fly during Big 12 play. But I mean, we got to make adjustments quick. And the other thing too is we've just been missing a ton of close shots. I know there's been some contact that maybe or may not have been getting calls, especially Keyshawn, but like Deshaun and Joshua and Demarion all missed layups yesterday that adds up cumulatively throughout the game.
Yeah.
Which
it gets in your head after a while.
Right.
You miss one, and you miss a second one. Now you're really gripping. I mean, so yeah, that was too bad. I mean, but it's, you know, the thing that we haven't done all year that I can remember. You remember last year we had like this passing game where we would reverse it like 3 times and the ball never touched the floor. We didn't even dribble it. Maybe one dribble to get a better passing angle. We haven't done that once this year. Why are we not giving that a try?
I feel like we did earlier, especially, I mean, when Milan's in it, the ball moves a little better, but I think right now we don't have an identity offensively, and we really, especially when we're not getting live ball turnovers, I feel like a lot of K-State's turnovers were dead ball, which are killer just because we don't have the opportunity to run in transition. And I think as soon as we start to tighten up a little bit, our half court offense gets only worse. So I think the solutions, I don't know. I think probably is spreading it out and running the offense a little more through Joshua at the high post. I think is probably getting him one-on-one, and he's probably our best passer right now too. So I think that may be an adjustment. The other thing too is I think we haven't talked about is Taman Lipsey's been playing lights out, and he's the only reason we're in games. Like
I was going
with
to
a
say
broken
that. I mean,
thumb,
one of the reasons we're in any game sometimes right now is because of Taman
he's averaging 19.
with a broken thumb. Yeah, Eric Heft said, I was listening to post game on the way home yesterday, and Eric Heft said, there's a lot of Cyclone fans out there that really appreciate what you're doing. And he was basically implying that you're playing hurt and you're playing really well. So,
Yeah.
and he was at the interview with an ice pack on his hand. So
Yeah.
they just hope it doesn't, God forbid it gets hurt a little worse and we have to sit him, because if we sit Taman, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think we can now, but yeah.
We
So I
can't.
mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm being dramatic as far as that's probably the most disappointing loss in the Otzelberger era, especially with this team. I mean, we've been in the top 5 essentially all year. We dropped just an absolute heartbreak at Arizona, which we're just going to keep looking back on that game and just think to ourselves, we're up 3 with 2 seconds left and they have the ball on the opposite side of the court and we lose. That sucks. That being said, I think right now the focus isn't winning the Big 12, even though it's still in play with Houston losing yesterday. But I mean, I think we just have to figure out a way to limit Keyshawn, Curtis, and Taman's minutes to 35 or less, just so they're fresh, and then figure out the other thing is something offensively has got to change while Milan's gone. And then 2, I mean, we got to have the plan too when Milan comes back. So I think Milan helps things, but he's not Kevin Durant. Like he's not going to all of a sudden start scoring 27 a game.
No, but he just changes the way that they have to guard. I mean, when you have him in the corner versus somebody else, I mean, yeah, opens up the lane for Curtis and Taman and Keyshawn a little bit. But
yeah, I mean, because we have a lineup with him, Curtis, and Keyshawn. Like that's really tough to guard for opposing defenses, and so I don't know. I struggle. I'm gonna say right now I'm just nervous. I really hope this doesn't turn into a 4-game losing streak. I mean, losing Monday would really hurt.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it stinks to like have to win when you're going to Lawerence. That being said, this isn't Kansas of the mid 2000s. This Kansas team is very. I mean, we're more talented and the better team. So I think we have the opportunity to win. I think again, it's just like the Arizona game. All you can ask for is under 4 timeout, 1 possession game, and just execute in crunch time, and just knowing that you're not going to get the whistle in Lawerence. But our guys know that. So
do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that Kansas melted down yesterday?
I mean, Kansas in crunch time right now is a disaster. Like they melted down a week ago against Houston, which was like a horrible loss. I mean, they were up 6 with 10 seconds left.
Yeah. And then DeJuan Harris was out against UCF. Is that right? Yeah. And then he back now.
Yeah.
And KJ Adams is playing with a separated shoulder. So, I mean, they're not exactly healthy either. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess Noy just must not be doing anything in practice that has deserved him at least a shot. I mean, yesterday was a prime example of him, I think just trying to get in TJ's mind, I think he probably would have pulled the trigger on Noyes if we would have gotten up 10. But when you're tied or you're having trouble scoring and they're scoring, if you have somebody in there that's really, a little shaky with the ball and has a tendency to turn it over, talk about, killing their ego. I mean, Nate is struggling a little bit in that sense right now, it seems like, but that would really kill Noyes too, and we don't need that to happen.
Yeah, it just hasn't had the right opportunity. I thought K-State potentially would be. I mean, but the issue, I think it has to be discussed as far as, I mean, I think TJ's loyal, and I think TJ is really cognizant of, I mean, I think he believes in Nate. He cares about Nate, as do us as fans, but there has to be a point where maybe Nate takes a game or 2 off and those minutes go to Noyes just to see what he does, just because I don't think anyone would argue that Noyes is less talented than Nate. He's just less experienced. But right now, Nate is really hurting us offensively, and I feel like he's a walking foul. I mean, he's getting a foul call like every other possession when he's defending, which some of them were questionable, maybe. But
he ran over a guy on a ball screen because the guy stopped all of a sudden. But, he didn't take a shot yesterday. And neither did Chatfield.
Yeah.
And when we were playing really well, I mean, they were giving us some minutes. I mean, Nate has had a couple games where he has looked good. I mean, he scored 10 points twice, I think, this year. But scoring 61 and giving up 80, the giving up 80 is the big one. I mean, that's the thing that Tang figured out a way to get their kids to the rim yesterday, almost uncontested a couple times, because they played 5 out and got it so spread out that we just weren't helping very, very well. And I don't know. I mean, kids being kids, maybe they just looked at the record and say, we can win this and we don't have to play hard till the 10-minute mark of the second half. And it sure backfired on it. Then also Jefferson getting in foul trouble. I mean, Jefferson didn't play much in the first half because of foul trouble. And we have zero depth right now to be able to have any starter out of the game because of foul trouble in the first half.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's possible the coaches were a little complacent too. They maybe were looking ahead to Kansas and thought they could just get away with a basic game plan. I mean, whatever game plan we had yesterday didn't work, and I don't know if it was lack of execution or a combination of both. But
we didn't run an out of bounds play. We didn't run an out of bounds play until we had 0.5 seconds, or 1.5, and then the 0.5 seconds left in the shot clock. We set up a box formation under the basket. Every other out of bounds play, we spread everybody out beyond the 3-point line, and a couple times we had to throw the ball into the backcourt to get it in bounds. And so, then watch the Houston game, and I don't watch any like Houston, Kansas. Those guys, they rarely have to throw in the backcourt on an out of bounds play underneath the basket.
Yeah, and I mean that's not new to yesterday. That's kind of been intermittently present, but I think part of the reason we get up 80 though is they had 14 offensive rebounds and we turned it over 18 times, and they had 6 more shot attempts than us. So
well, that's
part of it maybe defensive breakdowns, but also I mean we're just giving them extra possession after extra possession. So I mean the thing is too, like the 61 is the more concerning thing for me. I mean you shouldn't score 61 against that team at home.
Right.
So,
well, they only had 3. I mean, they had three more offensive rebounds than us, so that's 3 more shots.
I mean, 8-1 in the first half. So, I mean, that's how they hung around. So,
but we just, I mean, the fact that we couldn't score, I mean, that's why we got beat on the boards, is because they got a lot of defensive rebounds because we couldn't get the ball to go in the basket.
They also had 21 second chance points too. So, I mean, that's in theory 20 points if you just get the rebound that they don't get. So
21 second chance points. So if we have 3 offensive rebounds, so I'd have to go back and watch the film. If they have 3 more offensive rebounds than us and they get 21 second chance points, that means all 3 of those offensive rebounds turned into a 3. That's 21 points. I mean, how else do you get second chance points except off offensive rebounds?
We had 14 offensive rebounds.
And we had 11. So they had 3 more shots than us.
But we also had a bunch of
they had more second chance points than us, or do they had 21 second chance points total?
Total.
Oh, okay, I got you. I thought you were talking about the difference. Okay,
no.
All right, my bad. So yeah, I mean, getting the ball in the basket was which is an oversimplification, but that was an issue, obviously. Yeah, so well, we got to move on. I mean, we got a big one tomorrow night. I'm going to Lawerence. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, so I still haven't even changed from yesterday. I'm still wearing my whiteout Sound the Siren shirt. And shout out to Caden Madsen too. They introduced the football team to halftime with the Pop-Tarts. They brought the toaster out there, and Caden Madsen's wearing his white Sound the Siren shirt. So I appreciated that. And,
yeah, that's awesome.
And it was the thing that I thought kind of flipped. It was when I was at the game at halftime. Tang walked out at the beginning of the game, and everybody's booing him. The first time out, everybody's got their cell phones out, acting like they're filming his huddle. Tang walks out at halftime, and nobody boos at all. And so they had gotten into our heads, even as a fan base, it seems like. But man, I tell you what, when we made that run, it was loud, and it was the point where we make 1 or 2 more good plays, and I think we probably win that game. But then they hit a 3, and the Heisey, kicking the ball to Taman thing happens, and so yeah, it was too bad. I mean, it's just, and the weirdest thing that happened is that I'm walking out, and nobody is talking. You know how it is when you leave Hilton. It's wall-to-wall people. Nobody is talking. So I'm walking down the stairs, and this lady next to me looks at her husband and goes, "Why is it so quiet?" And I said, "Yeah, it feels like we're leaving a funeral." I mean, it was just dead silence leaving Hilton yesterday. So I think everybody was in shock.
I mean, it's just disappointing. I think everyone, and I think the players felt it too. I mean, Taman even said in his press conference, he's like, "We feel like we let the fans down," and they did. To be honest, like
but that can't get in their head. They can't. I mean, I feel bad for Taman even saying that, because if we're gripping a little bit, worrying about the fact that we're playing at home and saying, I don't want to, because when you're gripping, everything is harder. When we're worried about making a free throw or worried about making a shot, I mean, I don't want that to get in their head either. They just need to play. If they just play off of each other and worry a little bit more about each other, then I think we would have been fine. And I'm not a fan of that damn whiteout. I'm sorry. I just am not. Don't roll your eyes at me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the list of problems with our team. That's like 750th, but sure.
No, I get that, but I'm still not a fan of it.
I mean, we had 18 turnovers and 10 assists, and Taman had 3 assists, and he led the team in assists yesterday. And we're just not sharing the ball.
That's right. Yeah, the first time I've seen one of our guards not pass it ahead to Curtis. And then another time I saw Jefferson standing at the 3-point line, wide open, and we didn't move the ball to him. I mean, so, yeah, I'm sure that's being addressed today. I'm sure it's not a fun film session today. I mean, and, when you're watching it on TV, was TJ actually yelling at the refs when he got teed up?
Yeah.
It looked like he was yelling at the players.
No, he went ballistic. Yeah, it was bad.
I know he went ballistic because he went out on the court, but it didn't look like to me he was even yelling at the ref. No, it looked like he was just screaming at our kids.
No, he was yelling. I mean, the call, he was right. It was a terrible call, but.
Yeah, I don't even remember the call. Speaking of bad calls, let's talk about that Houston thing last night a little bit.
Yeah, that was bad.
That is, I could not believe it. I've showed it to many people that a kid's throwing a pass and his foot comes up because he's falling backwards. And so a natural reaction from physics is that your foot comes out to try to keep your balance. He happens to kick the guy in the crotch, and they boot him. Doesn't make any sense. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, even the announcers were like,
Texas wins.
Kim McClure said it's one of the worst calls he has ever seen. I agreed. It was crazy. Then the coach loses it, throws someone in the stands. He gets kicked out. And that was in the first 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
It was their best post player. JT Toppin's a really good player. And then they also had their next 2 post players foul out, and they still went in overtime.
So have you seen the clip from the Texas Tech radio announcers? It's so awesome. I mean, they just go on and on about how bad the officiating is in the Big 12. And I don't disagree with them. I think it seems like every time out we get the B team, but I think the only thing we have right now is the B team. They kicking that kid out yesterday was absolutely horrible. I saw a message that the AD from Texas Tech put out. He's already talked to Yormark, and Yormark said that there's going to be repercussions from it. So I think those guys might not be roughing for a while, but I don't know where these guys are coming from. I mean, I know it's a tough job. They get paid pretty well to do it, however, and they get to, spend a lot of time getting ready for those games. But, and it wasn't the reason we lost by any means yesterday. Our officiating crew wasn't great. Yesterday, I don't know what they said on TV because I haven't rewatched the game, but Kansas State shoots the ball, hits the side of the backboard, and goes out of bounds. And the ref standing right there puts his hands up because he didn't see it. Yeah. The guy out front gives it to Kansas State. They show the replay. Yeah. Obviously, it wasn't even close to being touched. And then the same ref that gave the ball to Kansas State immediately calls a travel on Kansas State in one pass, and it wasn't even close to travel.
Yeah, it was just hey, I messed up. Yeah, well, they also, I don't know if the TV was wrong. Kansas State shot 1-1 with 16 fouls on the screen.
I think the scoreboard had it. I didn't. I really watched that pretty close because the disparity a lot of times. I mean, it was at one point in the first half it was 10-5 fouls, Kansas State versus us. And I didn't think they would call another foul in Kansas State the rest of the way out. There was probably 6 minutes left in the half when that was the case. So we were in the double bonus and they were not. But no, I don't remember. I would have caught that. I try to keep track of that when I'm watching the game. But
yeah, I mean, the thing is that we're kind of past the point. Like, it wasn't the ref's fault. Like, this was on our guys, and
Right. Yeah. No
we've
doubt.
got the right pieces to figure it out. I don't know if tomorrow is the day we'll get it figured out, but I mean, I think we get a little reprieve the next 4 games in theory, but I think we've got, as far as tiers of what we need to do to fix, we've got to move the ball better on offensively. We have to get something. We got to get 10 points from the bench. I don't think it's asking too much.
No.
We've got to rebound better, and we just got to stop turning the ball over. If we just rebound better and don't turn the ball over, we win these games. So I think we had 18 turnovers against Arizona too.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We had 18 turnovers against Arizona as well. So I mean, that's an issue too. So,
well, I mean, I Kansas State turned it into a half-court game yesterday. And right now, the way we're playing offense, we are really having a hard time grinding a team. I mean, we just aren't getting, when the ball doesn't move, when we're not setting any screens, we're not running some type of set to get the ball inside or get an open look for Curtis. That turns into bad offense. And right now, that's what we got. I mean, but you're right about the whole reprieve thing. I mean, if we can figure out a way to win tomorrow, we've got a stretch here that they're not gimmies by any means, but if we play at our level, they should be. I mean, we got game day coming next Saturday. I don't know if that got in their heads yesterday, but because they announced that during the game. TCU coming, then we go to UCF, which UCF is so hot and cold that, they should have beat Houston, but then they scored 40 points against Kansas.
They should have beat Kansas. They should have won at Kansas.
Right, but then they should have won at Kansas, but I think when Kansas played them down there, they scored 40 points.
Yeah, Kansas beat them.
They're so hot and cold that you don't know what you're going to get there. So, yeah, if we don't pull off tomorrow, then, we thought that these next 4 games are going to be ones that we can, not be too stressed about. But luckily, 3 out of the 4 are in Hilton. And if we win tomorrow night, I think we right the ship.
Yeah, I think we right the ship regardless, but I think
pretty quickly is what I meant.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I think if we win tomorrow, we're right back in it in the Big 12 race. Keyshawn and Curtis still would have never lost to Kansas, which feels pretty good. And then I think you just kind of slowly, I think because TJ always talks about daily habits and things like that. So it's not like they're not really going to change much as far as what they do. I think there are some things schematically, offensively that they can change. And like we've said many times, I mean, winning cures all. I mean, winning makes you feel better. You play harder. So it just takes one. It just takes one game sometimes too. I mean, these are college kids. I mean, the thing is too about basketball, and like it's a long season and it is mentally taxing. And when you feel pretty good about yourself, and then you just get a game stolen by a 60-foot three, that mentally wears on you. And then you're at home and things aren't going your way, and then you look up the scoreboard, and all of a sudden you're down 19. Then you feel embarrassed, and then everyone started forcing it. It seemed like we were trying to score 12 points in one possession.
Right. Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah.
We the wheels just fell off, and we had a couple shots. And the other thing too, we didn't talk about, those 2 front end of 1-and-1s were huge, because we make all 4 of those, we're down 7. And then the thing is, I just know K-State would have crumbled if we would have put the pressure on, but we just never had that opportunity. So
Hawkins was talking to the refs every time he got touched. And if you watch Hawkins play, if he goes down and misses a shot because he thinks he got screwed on a play, he almost walks to the other end. It's almost like open gym where somebody's tired and they just said, I'm going to stay at the other end. I mean, that's just the way he plays. That's what drives me crazy. But it was kind of funny. I told you this before we started, that I'd never seen a visiting team help our guys up when they got knocked down more than I saw yesterday, especially in the first half. Hawkins goes running over to help up Taman at one point, and that had to be by design, that they were trying to maybe throw a bone to our fans and not get on them too much. But I don't know. It was too bad. But
and honestly, if we bought into this whole Tang Gate thing more than they did, and I think it negatively affected us. Like the crowd, that's all we talked about. That's all we thought about. We just assumed we were going to kill them, and now we're just getting owned on Twitter because when you lose by 19 to that team at home, we deserve it.
I saw one of our fans blaming Cyclone Jim Carrey for it. I mean, give me a break. I mean, that's crazy. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that we kind of got wrapped. Hopefully, I'm sure hopefully the kids didn't get wrapped up into it. But yeah, it sure didn't work out. I mean, I thought it was going to be an angry crowd. I thought it was going to be a little more excited. But I tell you what, our crowd goes the way our offense goes.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't score, it's not very loud, and
And that's a
just the way
problem.
it is. That's what happened. That's what happened in the first half. We had that scoring drought, and everybody sat down and just kind of sat there, and that's when Kansas made their run and made it a game in the first half.
And that's why it's bugged me for years. It's why we're not the best venue in college basketball. You go to Lawerence and you'll experience it tomorrow. It is loud almost all the time. Every free throw, it is extremely loud. Their students are much more engaged than ours. You look at Cameron Indoor, like these places they're just a tier above us. I'm not taking away from the Hilton experience. I think it is one of the best, but it's not in the first tier because I mean we won a game, the Baylor game.
You're going to make some enemies with that statement.
I mean, the Baylor game, it was like we played in the Mork. We won by 17, and we sat down and were quiet the entire game. And it was fine. But like the crowd didn't affect the game at all. We were just better than them, which is fine. But I'm just saying, I guess the only thing I'm asking is be loud during free throws. When they're not even uncomfortable shooting the free throw and they get a couple to go in. I mean, Coleman Hawkins, for crying out loud, is 57% on the year. And he was like 6 for 6 from the line and 4 for 4 from 3. These kids are too talented. If you don't make them uncomfortable, it only snowballs. And so that I'm not saying Hilton is Carver Hawkeye, but it's just, I don't know.
What did you say? Yeah, he's a 23%. No, that was low. He's a 32% 3-point shooter. He's a 60% free throw shooter. Yeah.
That's after yesterday. He was 57 and like in the 20s.
Crazy. Yeah, no, we made him look a lot better than he is. He's making a lot of money to be pretty average.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I think one of the issues, I've never liked this when they made the change in Hilton, is moving the student section back. You know, they used to be closer to the baseline, and I think because of press row, they moved it back, and that's not good. I mean, that the distance from the standard, the basketball, the hoop standard to our student section is much longer than it was back. If you watch highlights of even Monte, for crying out loud, they weren't right on top of the free throw shooter. So I don't think that'll change, but I think that's one of the issues too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, but I mean, that's basketball. And I mean, that's why college basketball's so fun. I mean, you look at the lineup yesterday, you'd say all the top 10 teams roll. And I think 4 or 5 top 10 teams lost yesterday and 3 of them to unranked teams. That's what makes college basketball so fun. But I think all I care about is March. This is the team to make a Final Four. That's really all that matters. So, I mean, we've got a ton of time to get things figured out. Nate Heisey will play better. He will start making shots. And, I mean, the thing is, I think the one silver lining from this whole stretch is we can now go 9 deep when Milan's back. Because Demarion he is more than good enough to play. And he had 7 rebounds in 21 minutes. Like, his rebounding rate per possession is off the charts. He was guarding guards too. I mean, he was guarding. And then Keyshawn guarded Hawkins a couple times. I mean, so no, you're right. But we have to get some production out of our bench. I mean, it just isn't going to, doing what we think we can do is not going to happen if they're taking 9 shots in 2 games, for crying out loud. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I mean, our bench production increases infinitely once Curtis goes back to the bench. So that'll be a quick bench fix at least. But
so just out of curiosity, if I look at the Kansas game last time we played them, our bench scored 18 points. However, that's when Deshaun didn't start. Mm-hmm. Chatfield had 4, Heisey had 0, Demarion had 1. So our current starting lineup was still the guys that were scoring the majority of the points.
Yeah.
I mean, so Demarion took 1 shot against Kansas last time. Heisey took 2 shots last time, and Chatfield took 5. Yeah. So it's a problem that's been going on for a while.
For sure. But the thing is, just our lineups are way more flexible with Milan, just because then you have the luxury of only having 2 guards out there.
Yeah.
And there was a time when we had 2 guards with Heisey and Watson in, and we did okay. And I mean, Heisey and Watson at the same time, that's a money defensive lineup. So,
right.
And the other thought I had, I don't know if you agree with, is we potentially just need to slow it down a little bit too while we're waiting for Milan to come back. Just because if we limit the possessions, we at least are expending less energy.
I think that's what we tried to do yesterday. I really do.
Yeah,
I mean, because we didn't do much to speed them up till like the 10-minute mark, and then we were, Kansas State did it to us too, so they shortened the game because they were grinding it all the way down to the end of the shot clock, and then they were scoring. But it seemed like we were doing something similar to that, and I'm not sure we're built that way. I mean, I just don't know if we're gonna, until we can get more production out of Deshaun or something closer to the basket. That's a tough way to play. I mean, because what happened when what happens at the end of the shot clock for us? What do we do? We stand around and somebody tries to take somebody off the dribble. That's all we do. And that's just as we got to get some type of set that's going to get the ball inside and Taman at the end of I remember this play, when we needed a bucket, I mean, we're trying to make that run. Taman was trying to go to the rim at the end of the shot clock every time.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you do that, you're putting the game in the hands of the officials. I mean, and I'm not sure that's going to work out well tomorrow night. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I'm not worried. TJ's the right guy. I love TJ. I felt for him last night for what his meltdown, and he was pretty excited. He was just trying to fire our kids up because he just didn't think we're playing hard. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So we'll see. I mean, we got a lot of talent. We're just, being down Milan probably hurts more than we thought it was going to be. And we've got, what percentage of Taman do you think we have right now with that broken thumb?
I mean, it's just a thumb. So, I mean, it doesn't affect him at all defensively. And I mean, he's been shooting the ball better. So I don't know. It's not like he's playing worse.
Yeah.
He's just,
but I mean, I still don't think he's 100%. He's not 100%. I mean, he's not going in and mixing it up on defense in the lane like he has in the past. He was always good for swatting it away sometime. And I'm sure he's thinking twice about using that right hand to knock the ball away. So,
but I mean, you can't argue it's affected his play at all. Because I mean,
no. We'd be screwed if Taman was playing poorly with that thumb right now. But no, we have a big opportunity tomorrow night. Huge opportunity
for sure.
And hopefully, I just don't like the fact that yesterday was so exhausting because Keyshawn was playing his butt off trying to at the end of the game all the way to the buzzer, and then they all were for that matter. But then Keyshawn, you and I pointed it out, Keyshawn goes around to all 5 guys as the clock is winding down, and it was trying to pump them up a little bit, I guess. But I just don't like this 48-hour turnaround, and we have to get on a bus and they have to ride to Lawerence or a plane or whatever tomorrow sometime. So
but I mean, it'll be interesting. So I mean, Kansas just melted down in Waco, so they have to travel. So like, they're honestly probably going to be more tired than us and probably feeling worse than us because they've blown two games and they were lucky to beat UCF. So they easily could be on a 3-game losing streak right now. And I don't know. I feel okay after watching the Houston game. I think we're better than Houston. I think offensively we're definitely better than them, and I mean they're just tough. So it's not going to be. I'm not expecting to win there, but I just think our ceiling is higher than them. It's just that's the thing about college basketball is like you just have to push the right buttons and peak in March, and then also get a little lucky along the way too. So we got 7-8 weeks left of this crazy ride, and we'll just see what happens. So I'm still excited. And the thing is too, it's dissimilar to football. Is if we win tomorrow, all these bad feelings only lasted 2 days, and now we feel great again. So
right, exactly. Yeah, no, they're going 9 deep right now, and they got 28 points out of their bench yesterday, and Hunter Dickinson fouled out with 20 points. So, Yeah, no, I mean, I was having, the Arizona game and kind of what's going on. This is just a tough time of the year for a basketball season. I mean, just this because it's kind of in the middle of, this end of January, beginning of February is kind of a grind. And I was going back to the Arizona game, when I was coaching, we played Waverly Shell Rock. And remember the kid that played for Waverly Shell Rock that ended up at Iowa State?
Clayton Vetty.
Clayton Vetty. Yeah, Clayton Vetty was on the Waverly Shell Rock team, and he so he couldn't shoot a free throw to save his life. We were up 2 with 2 seconds to go, and they throw up a three from a 36-foot three and fall down trying to draw a foul, and it goes in, and we lose. And so I've been there before. When I watched that Arizona thing, I thought the same thing, and I still haven't forgotten about it. I still watch that game every once in a while because we played really well and just had a lucky shot going at the end. It's too bad. And that guy, the trivia question, that guy that was the head coach of Waverly Shell Rock was Martin. Had a connect. He was an assistant coach in high school in Minneapolis, and he's one of the reasons that we got Martin Rancic. So, yeah. Well, I'm hoping the trip is a positive one tomorrow. But
yeah, I mean,
if it's a bad day watching college basketball, it's not that bad of a day.
True. I mean, the fact that you're going, if we're being honest, only hurts us. So,
okay, thanks.
I mean, let's be honest. When was the last time you went somewhere to watch Iowa State play and something good happened?
Iowa this year.
Okay, that's in state though.
What does that matter? I can't cross. I was at the Royce White UConn game. I was in Omaha last year. Omaha's in Nebraska.
Okay.
Well, so you're not going to stick this one on me.
No, I know, but I'm just saying that's why Thomas and I almost went. And, I mean, if Thomas and I also went, it's a guarantee bad things happen. So
right, yeah, because tickets are flipping out of sight. I can't believe how much.
They're probably cheaper today after Kansas lost, but.
Well, let's see real quick. How much would it cost to get into Allen Fieldhouse? Because I wonder if our tickets are going to start going down because of the loss. Because the upper decks are going for quite a bit right now for the rest of our games.
According to Vivid Seats, you can get in for $67.
To where? For tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the top. Yeah, I don't know.
$67 on Vivid Seats. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. Yeah, StubHub's fees are probably more. The fees will probably be more than the tickets themselves. Yeah, you can get into section 13 in Lawerence tomorrow, row 20 for $56. And lower levels, what? There's a lower level for 77. No way. Yeah, there's lower level seats in Allen Fieldhouse tomorrow for $77.
Maybe I should go. All right. Well, this is good radio. We probably should wrap this up before Grandma Joe gets too mad.
Right. What's that?
We have to wrap it up before Grandma Joe gets too mad.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to Wendell Larson, teacher at Alta Aurelia High School. Going to on the back end of his career, longtime Iowa State fan, friend of mine, known him forever. Went to the game with him and his wife Tina yesterday and had a good time. And their son Alex too. If they're listening, they're all wearing Sound the Siren shirts. So
for sure, 5-star people. Those people.
Yeah, they are. They're really good people. That's right. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll talk to you after the Lawerence thing.
All right.
All right. Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.